to the money-colored black. Dark lamps getting spun so politically correct. Watching everybody fight each other, sister versus brother. Peace versus war, rich against the poor. Different versus different, bed versus the floor. Wall versus the door. Shore black, water black, money back in green, back in season. Spring falling, someone tougher on natural races.
Let's talk about this situation with Shaun King, Sharita Dixon-Cole, and a Texas state trooper. So Shaun King, who describes himself as both an activist and a journalist, he's also a columnist for The Intercept, he posts something on Sunday, and it's a statement detailing allegations that State Trooper Officer Hubbard had sexually assaulted Sharita Dixon-Cole while she was handcuffed in his vehicle. He says she was kidnapped and raped by this officer, says that she was being held hostage. He says she was told she was being stopped because Hubbard expected she was driving while intoxicated, adding Cole voluntarily performed and passed all DUI, DWI protocol, including a breathalyzer. However, Hubbard decided he, quote, didn't like her attitude and that he was going to take her to jail anyway. Then saying the officer asked her if she wanted to go home as he hiked up her skirt, adding he told her that she could earn her way home if she really wanted to go. And then the allegations get worse. We're talking threat of murder. According to Shaun King's post, Sharita had called her boyfriend just as she was getting pulled over. He shows up. Allegedly, the officer asks, who is that? And according to Shaun King's post, when she explained it was her fiance, he asked her, was he armed? When she said he was not, Hubbard retorted, if you tell him what happened, he will be armed and his firearm will be visible when I have to shoot him. Just after this, according to the post, Hubbard tells the fiance that she's going to jail. Also, if you follow, you will be arrested as well. The fiance drives a small distance, waits for the officer to take her to jail. Eventually, he ends up just leaving. But instead, what happened, according to the post, Hubbard drove the car behind the vacant dealership and told Cole, why don't you just give me some of that sweet pussy you've been giving your fiance and then you can go home. King writing, Cole begged Hubbard to just take her to jail. He placed his hands back up her skirt and penetrated her vagina, warning her not to be stupid. He explained she could go home tonight if she just gave him what he wanted. And around that point, Cole's boyfriend had looped the highway, and when the officer saw that he was coming, he stopped. And you know what? There are more details to this assault, but I'm just going to stop there because it turns out all of it's a lie. On Tuesday, the Texas Department of Public Safety released almost 2 hours of body cam footage, and there is no crime committed. And I'm not saying like there's something that could have been misinterpreted or you know what, the cuts, they're sketchy. The officer appears to be nothing but professional. Sharita Dixon-Cole seems fine. Her fiance seems fine. In the video, it appears that she has open alcohol in the vehicle.
That's alcohol right there.
Calls it in, reads her Miranda rights, lets her know about the situation, offers to give her a chance to call her fiance. She said she already talked to him. When he arrives, he allows him to talk briefly. They get to the jail. He places the camera in a way so you can see everything. They small talk about her fiance moving, the cost of living, her occupation, her children. He explains how the situation goes. He gives her a breathalyzer. He then lets her know that she blew in just under the legal limit, but of course, he pulled her over 2 hours ago. And that's it. And so, of course, immediately, Shaun King's credibility took a massive hit. In his post going after Officer Hubbard, he wrote, this woman is a mother and a corporate professional. She didn't just make this up. A horrible crime was committed against her and it needs to be dealt with immediately. That was shared tens of thousands of times. He went on the radio, he spread this story, and none of it is true. In response to the footage, the department said they were appalled that anyone would make such a despicable, slanderous, and false accusation against a peace officer who willingly risks his life every day to protect and serve the public. We saw Dixon-Cole's lawyer apologize. We also saw Shaun King write a whole Medium post about this, and it's titled, When the Victim You Fought For Turns Out to Be the Victimizer. Sharita Dixon-Cole and the Painful Consequences of a False Report of Sexual Assault and Police Misconduct. And in the piece, he said he did probe the claims before releasing them, but then says he has now watched the body cam footage 3 different times and he has seen no allegations proven true. Writing not one, not the threats, not the sexual assaults, none of it. It is one of the most bizarre things I've ever heard of. He also writes, to this moment, Sharita Dixon-Cole says all of her allegations are true, saying the body camera footage must have been edited, but even Shaun King says it does not appear to be the case. Shaun King then writing, thousands of people a year are victimized by the police, but Sharita Dixon-Cole is not one of those victims, adding she victimized us. She victimized the man she falsely accused, and she victimized those who stood up for her, believing that she had experienced the worst crimes. And since all of this came out, Shaun King spoke with Fox News, and he was asked if he would issue an apology to the officer, to which King reportedly said, I would actually like to speak to the officer personally to apologize and to communicate that he was actually a model example of a good cop in this situation. He was patient and thorough. I've actually already reached out to try to make that happen. And ultimately where this story ends up for me, based on all of this information, I mean, obviously we should not lose sight of this. Sharita Dixon-Cole is a garbage person for this. Not only did she try to just completely destroy a person's life with a false sexual assault claim, a false murder threat claim, She hurts all the real victims out there, whether it be people that have spoken out already about their story or were thinking about it but are now worried. Worried that because there are stories like this that no one will believe them, that there will be that doubt. And so because there's really not a question that can revolve around her, the question I want to pass off to you is, what do you think about the Shaun King situation? Because the main two things I'm seeing from the Shaun King fallout, you have some people defending him, people saying there's really no 100% way to protect yourself from someone that is lying, especially when it's a situation that allegedly involved just two people. But at the same time, you have a lot of people that are angry at Shaun King, many people saying that this is an example of someone wanting to push a narrative and not doing enough background work, and then this just blowing up in their face. Essentially arguing that because he has a bias, because he maybe wanted to take down a cop, he didn't do the amount of work necessary to verify everything. And yet he publicly accused this officer by name of kidnapping and raping someone. But with all of that said, I want to pass the question off to you. What is your takeaway from this situation?
In case you haven't seen anything about this incident, it all started when a woman named Dixon-Cole was pulled over by a Texas highway patrolman named Daniel Hubbard. Shaun King made a huge post to his Facebook and his Twitter, which collectively have millions of followers, stating that the trooper definitively raped this woman, that it happened. He kidnapped and raped her. It wasn't an accusation. It was, this trooper, here's his name, raped this woman. The information that he received is all third-party information. He had no idea what was actually going on, but he went ahead and made this post to his millions of followers anyway. One of the people who he did get this information from was from the woman's attorney, a man by the name of Lee Merritt. Lee Merritt is also a big liar who likes to make false claims against police officers. As a matter of fact, this wasn't the first time he's done that this year. In January of this year, Lee Merritt claimed that a Harker Heights police officer dragged his client from a car and banged her face on the concrete. It turns out that his client had just gotten into a domestic dispute, got roughed up a bit, so her and her boyfriend fabricated a story. Holy shit, sounds familiar. After the body camera footage was released in that incident, it proved that Lee Merritt was a big old liar. All right, we're getting a little bit off track. Let's go back to the incident I was talking about before where the white guy falsely accused Officer Hubbard of raping a woman. Oh, I forgot to mention, he didn't just say that the officer raped the woman, he also said that the man threatened to kill her fiance who arrived on scene. You know what, just to get this out of the way, let's go ahead and count the lies. Reading directly from Shaun King's post. This woman was kidnapped and raped by a Texas state trooper. The officer decided he didn't like her attitude and that he was going to take her to jail anyways. The officer then took a seat beside Cole and placed his hand on her thigh. He asked her if she wanted to go home as he hiked up her skirt. He told her that she could earn her way home if she really wanted to go. The officer threatened to shoot her fiance. The officer told the fiance if he followed him, he would be arrested. The officer drove the car to a vacant dealership and made some more advances toward the woman. He placed his hand up her skirt and penetrated her vajayjay. He said she could go home if she just gave him what he wanted. The officer successfully maneuvered his vehicle down back streets to get away from the fiance. He continued to pull at her clothes and place his hand down her shirt and up her skirt. I went through it kind of quick, but that's 12 very serious false accusations made against this police officer. In his initial post, which has since been deleted, he lied at least a dozen times. Because of this, his brain-dead followers doxed the officer, another officer who shares the same last name, and both of their families. The troopers and their families received death threats from people all over the internet. I will leave a link to the body camera video in the comments and in the description below. We don't even really have to watch any of it because it's 2 hours of the officer being awesome, being a very courteous and amazing human being. Shaun King and the attorney, Lee Merritt, both stated that the officer was very courteous and he did everything by the book. Shaun King and the attorney also released statements shifting blame to other people and not apologizing whatsoever. Shaun King even made himself out to be the victim of this situation. I'll leave a link to all that bullshit in the comments below too if you want to take a look at it. Well, King did say that he wanted to personally apologize to the trooper. I say no. Trooper Hubbard, tell him to kick rocks and sue him. If I were the Hubbard troopers, I would take King to court, I would take Lee Merritt to court, and I would also take Sharita Dixon to court. As a matter of fact, Trooper Hubbard, if you haven't seen this yet, attorney and radio host Clay Travis said on Twitter that he offers free legal services to you if you want to bankrupt King. Funny thing is, you would think, oh, how could anyone trust and believe this clown anymore? But from what I've seen in the comments, a lot of his followers are defending him. While I'm still here talking about this, before I lose my mind thinking about this, I want to go ahead and personally thank Philip DeFranco for sharing this story on his show. It's not often you see big YouTubers standing up for police officers, but I mean, how could you not in this situation?
I guess that was worth seeing.
What? That's all you have to say?